This is a simply fabulous song by Stevie Wonder. It's a very sophisticated song. The melody has some quite unexpected twists and turns. I'm not going to be able to do that justice in the playthrough. I'm going to play the melody on the saxophone, and it's a little high for me. But with the capo here on the 3rd fret, actually most of the chords fit really nicely under the fingers. It's quite manageable. The structure is fairly simple. We've got this little intro that you just heard, and we'll come back and look at that in a moment. Then we've got a verse, it's just kind of in 2 sections, and a chorus, and that's kind of it. The outro is another repeat of the chorus but in a different key, so there's a lovely key change at the end. So let's kick off straight away by looking at the basic chords for the verse. We'll look at some picking, we'll look at the intro separately of course, and we'll also look at some other ways, some alternative ways of playing some of these main chords. We begin with a bar of C. Over time, A minor 7, I've been building my castle of love. D minor 7, G7, what's known as a 1-6-2-5 altogether. Happens in Blue Moon and If I Had a Hammer and all sorts of other songs actually, but here we are. Over time, I've been building my castle of love. I might try singing this down an octave. Just for 2. We carry on with another bar of C and A minor 7. Though you never knew you were the real. Now we have, if you watch my videos, you'll see me playing this shape a lot. It's a D chord with an F sharp in the bass, the note that you would normally have on the top string there, 2nd fret of the top string. I've moved that down to the bottom string. Reason. And then we simply move that D over F sharp up here to E over G sharp, and because of that open 4th string there, that means I've got an E7 over G sharp. So the first 8 bars, which is effectively the first part of the verse. Over time, I've been building my castle of love. Just for 2, though you never knew you were the reason. Okay. Now, to give my voice a rest for a second, let's just look at some picking we can do with that. And I'm going to take a fairly standard Travis picking pattern. So if we're playing in C, I'm going to use 2 picking fingers. My first finger is going to be on the 3rd string, 2nd finger on the 2nd string, and my thumb is going to move between the bass note, in the case of C, that's the 5th string, and the 4th string. It's going to go like this. I'm going to pick the 5th string with my thumb, and then the 2nd string with my 2nd finger. Then I'm going to come up with my thumb to the 4th string, pick that, and then finally pick the 3rd string with the 1st finger. So all together. And in Travis picking circles you might hear that as the outside pair and the inside pair. And that can sound a little bit rigid and repetitive, so the job here is to create a bit of variety with some accents, and sometimes that means just playing the notes either side of an accented note a bit more quietly to give that note that you're aiming for the prominence you want, and maybe just leaving out some of those notes altogether. That kind of a thing is a little bit more fluid, a bit more organic. And of course, this kind of stuff, some hammer-ons, and maybe using your 3rd finger in Travis picking style just to pick out some of the top string notes from time to time too. Anyway, that said, let's have a look at the first 8 bars with that kind of picking. Over time, I've been building my castle of love. Just for 2, though you never knew you were my reason. Okay, that's the first section, the first 8 bars of the verse. There's another 4 bars to look at. Before we go on though, there's a very tempting passing bass note here. We've got a bar of C and then a bar of A minor 7. So, over time, had a bar here. That's whenever you've got a pair of chords a third apart. C, then at the end of that C bar, I'm just going to put a note on the 2nd fret of the 5th string. That's B. That's going to walk down very nicely to that A minor 7. Over time, da, da, da. That kind of a thing. Okay, that's the first 8 bars done. The next 4 bars, we move to this. There's a lovely contrast, a very bright and brittle sound here for the A sus2. This helps me, and I'm not much of a singer as you know, but this helps me to pitch the note. Gone, I've gone. That open 2nd string, that's where the melody is. Gone much too far. And again, the E or E7 over G sharp. Gone much too far for you now to say. A minor 7 to D over F sharp again. In fact, for the D over F sharp, I'm going to add that top string that gives me a bit more colour. The A minor 7, 2 beats of this. The thing here is that melody is again na on the 2nd string, so I might just leave that 1st finger off for a second while I pitch that note. Gone much too far for you now to say that I've got to throw my castle away. Okay, the last 2 chords here are both effectively G. I'm going to place a note on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. That's for G sus2, and at this point I'm not picking the top string. So when I go to G7, that, which is your standard way of playing G7 with the 1st finger on the 1st fret of the top string, I'm not going to hear that note. So I need to find that F, which is what that note is, somewhere else, and I can play F down here. And if I put my little finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, then I've got that colour of the 7th chord. So the whole of that that last bit there. Gone much too far for you now to say that I've got to throw my castle away. There, land on that G7. Haven't had to play the top string, so I can keep this slightly mellower sound. And then, all the dreams I've picked. We've got the 2nd verse, which is exactly the same, and that takes us into the chorus. Okay, the chorus is 8 bars, and it ends with this, which is note for note identical to the intro of the song. So we'll have a look at that separately in a second. But for now, let's just walk through these chords. We begin with F major 7. A couple of ways of playing that, but I'm going to do that. That's like an A minor with F in the bass. We've got C over E, so it's a C chord, and I'm just going to allow the bottom string to ring. A D minor 7 to G7. 2 chords per bar there, and for the next bar 2, I've got B flat major 7 to A7. Okay, that's a little bit, not devious, but you know, you want to watch your fingers there. And it begins with a little melodic run-up. Perhaps we'll talk about that in a second, but and though you don't believe that they do come true. For did my dreams come true when I looked at you? That's the first 4 bars, the first half of the chorus. As I say, it begins with this ba-do-ba-do-ba-dee. And you know, I need all the help I can get when I'm singing this stuff, so it helps me very much to pick out ba-dee-da-do-ba-da, that melody. And though you don't believe, I've tabbed it out, so it's this: G, A, B, C, D. So right at the end of your chorus, of your verse, Sandman has come from too far away for you now to say, come back some other day, and though you don't believe. I'll put that in because that just helps support my voice. Of course, if you have a higher register, lucky you, you can play this an octave higher. It's up there, isn't it? So either way, you can play this down here or up here, but of course if you've got a strong voice and your ears are fine and you can hit those notes without any help from the guitar, well done you, I'm not jealous at all. Anyway, and though you don't believe that they do come true. For did my dreams come true when I looked at you. Now we've got another one of those run-ups. Can make it true if you. So that's A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, starting on that A7. Can make it true if you. And we end up on the F sharp, which is the 4th fret of the 4th string. It's just like the F major 7, but it's G major 7 now. And da-da-dee-da-da. Now, of course, again, if your voice is in a different register and you want to play that an octave higher, sing that. It's there, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. And for that then you might play F sharp at the top on the 2nd fret of the top string, giving you that G major 7, which is a perfectly good way of playing it. For me, having this G major 7 just means that I can hit that F sharp on the 4th string, but you might like to put it up there. Anyway, if we pick that up from the A7, can make it true if you would believe. D over F sharp, or D add 9 if you include the top string for 2 beats, and then we're going to move that down. If you've played my version of Wichita Lineman, you get exactly the same move in the second half of that. D over F sharp, D minor over F, and then we get overjoyed, bar of D minor 7. Over love, F over G, lovely chord here, to G7, and then we're into this section. So up to that point, if I can, let's just have the whole of the chorus. And though you don't believe that they do come true. For did my dreams come true when I looked at you. Can make it true if you would believe. You too might be overjoyed, over love. Okay, I think it's time to look at this bit. Okay, just to be clear, this ending for the chorus is lifted directly from the intro. So if you can play one, you can play the other. It's the same thing. I'll talk you through the chord shapes and then we'll look at the picking that I've got for this. I'm using the bottom 4 strings of the guitar only, and in each case I've got the 3rd string open. So I begin this way, and it pays to look carefully at the fingering. I'm using the 1st, 2nd and 3rd fingers here. And you'll notice right away that the note on the 5th fret of the 4th string is the same as that open 3rd string. That just gives us a bit of warmth. Now I'm going to slide those 2nd and 3rd fingers down a fret, and I'm going to bring my little finger in onto the 4th string there. So that same note that I was playing with the 1st finger, I'm now taking that over with the 4th finger. Using my thumb and 3 picking fingers here so that I can hit each of those bottom 4 strings. Now I'm going to leave that little finger there. That was the A7 sus4 for my A flat major 7 sharp 11. I'm going to switch over to my 1st and 2nd fingers, and then I'm going to come back up again, 2nd and 3rd fingers. So all of that, 1st and 2nd fingers for the B flat 6, sliding those 2nd and 3rd fingers down, but now replacing the 1st finger with the 4th finger for the A chord, for the A flat chord, my 1st and 2nd instead of my 2nd and 3rd, and then back up with the 2nd and 3rd. 2 beats each. Then we get that again, and this time I'm going to end like that. My 1st finger on the 3rd fret for my G, and I'm putting my little finger on the 5th fret of that 5th string. So now I've just got a bunch of G's and D's for a G5. All together then. It might take a moment to get under your fingers, but you know, it's a lovely addition to the song and well worth working at. The picking that I've got for this, we've got half beats, 8th notes, quavers in the thumb. And so on. And at the beginning of each chord, so 1st beat and 3rd beat of the bar, I'm actually going to just play them all together like that, all the notes at the same time, but kind of fanned out. so that I'd get something like the bass and piano of the original. Then I keep picking in eighth notes on that bass. And then after the second thumb note, I'm going to come up with my first finger to the fifth string. And after the third thumb note, I'm going to pick the open third string. I might use my third finger for that. And then back after the fourth thumb note to the fifth string with my first finger. So all together, then thumb, fifth string, thumb, third string, thumb, fifth string. And they're going to happen in semiquavers, sixteenths. Dum, da, ga, da, ga, da, ga. Exactly the same for the next one and the next one. And the last one, I'm just going to play that like that. Up to speed, and we need a bit of fluency, so a little bit of an organic quality with some accents and maybe just making some of those notes a bit less prominent. Now, to be clear about where that figure that we just looked at comes, obviously it opens the song, it's the intro, but it also comes at the end of the first chorus, so we get overjoyed, over love, it comes there. And he does this lovely fantastic kind of soulful fall to his voice that I can't nearly do. But anyway, that's that. Okay, let's look now, before we go on, at a few alternative shapes. Now, for C, obviously, and this is really a fairly straightforward thing, if you lift that first finger up, you've got C major 7. Okay, and in this section, we're going to look at a couple of different ways of playing a major 7 chord. This one here, using the middle 4 strings, I've got my first finger on the bass note, which is the 3rd fret of the 5th string. That C major 7 shape, well, I can play that anywhere I like. In fact, in the outro, we're going to hear that again for E flat major 7 and all sorts of places. But that's it for C. And as I say, no open strings here. So the advantage of learning this is whenever you want to play a major 7 shape, you can go straight to this, as long as you know the names of the notes on the 5th string. That's that for A minor 7. Well, that's the one that we've got, but of course you could be putting your little finger on the 3rd fret of the top string as well, if that's the colour you want. But you know, another shape for A minor 7 would be this. So similar voicing, very different shape. I'm just using my 2nd and 3rd fingers. I've got my bass note on the 6th string now, 5th fret for A minor 7, and my 3rd finger is barring across the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings at the 5th fret. You kind of got to turn it inside out a little bit there. Okay, if you've watched my video on Walk On By, I've got A minor 7 for that, G minor 7 for that. It's a really common shape, a bit more jazz inspired, and of course, again, no open strings, so you can play that anywhere you like. It's a very versatile shape that you ought to have in your vocabulary. So that's another way of playing A minor 7. For D minor 7, we've chosen this one for now, or at least I have. But of course, a bar chord, that's A minor 7 as a bar chord shape on the 5th fret. That's fine. Means you can add that A at the top there for a bit more colour, a bit more brightness. But this is a slightly more unusual shape. Not quite so easy to get, but my bass note is here on the 5th fret of the 5th string, played with my 2nd finger. My 1st finger is playing the 3rd fret of the 4th string. That's my minor 7. Then the 7 is played on the 5th fret of the 3rd string with my 3rd finger. And I'm actually repeating the F that I've got on the 4th string an octave higher on the 6th fret of the 2nd string. That's another D minor 7. That works really well. You can move that note down. You've now got D minor 9. That's pretty nice too. It might not always work in this song, but it's a lovely colour. In a second, we're going to look look at something called G13, and this D minor 7 is going to work really nicely with that. Okay, in terms of G7, we've already seen this, or you could play it as an E-type bar chord on the barred on the 3rd fret, E7 type bar chord there. We've looked at this as well. Okay, where I'm moving, instead of that F on the 1st fret of the top string, my little finger's picking it out on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. That's a very folky way of playing that, especially if you don't want that extra brightness of the top string. And if you're not picking the top string, you know, having to pick that top string just so that you hear the difference between G and G7 seems a bit of a shame to kind of break whatever atmosphere you've got musically. So come down here onto the 3rd fret of the 4th string for your G7. That works really nicely. And if you happen to hit that open top string, never mind. My recent video, In My Life by the Beatles, I played G7 this way, and we've got the E at the top, creates a kind of G13 chord. But this is the other G13 I want to look at. Again, no open strings for this one. This is based on a jazz shell voicing. 1st finger on the 3rd fret of the bottom string, my 2nd finger on the 3rd fret of the 4th string, with my 3rd finger on the 4th fret of the 3rd string. That's a straight G7, and I've got my little finger free and 2 whole strings to add extra colour. If I put the little finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string here, I've got G13, and in this song where we've got D minor 7 to G7, you could play D minor 7 like that and then G13 there, maybe going to C major 7 like this if that comes up. Those are both really nice shapes to play, the D minor 7, G13 like that. That gives you a bit more character, a bit more class actually. Okay. Finally, and we've seen this shape already in the chorus, that's F major 7. In a moment we're going to see that for G major 7 again to start the outro. In fact, we see this in the first chorus too, don't we? That's just another way of playing a major 7 shape without having to use any open strings. This one, of course, has its bass note on the 6th string. So for the C major 7, we had one with its bass note on the 5th string, this one with its bass note on the 6th string, and you should just learn those. And if you know the names of the notes on the bottom 2 strings, if you've played bar chords, you're probably doing that already, then you'll always have access to various major 7 shapes with their bass note on the 6th string or the 5th string. Finally, this is another G major 7 shape, and I mentioned that before when we had the little run-up. Okay, that's another G major 7, but that's it. Those are just a few ideas of different ways you can add colour and a bit of variety to your chord shapes. Okay, nearly there. The format of the song is intro, which we've looked at, verse 1, verse 2, which is exactly the same as verse 1, into the chorus, we've looked at that, and then we get this business. All that takes us into another verse. We get a 3rd verse, just one more verse before we get another chorus. The 2nd chorus is exactly the same as the 1st chorus, except that instead of going to this, we then have a big A7, A7 sus4 for a bar to A7, before we get and all the odds say improbable, what do they know? We have another chorus now, which is more or less the same as the previous ones, but it's a tone higher. So instead of beginning on F major 7, it begins on G major 7. So let me just go from the beginning of the 2nd chorus into that A7 sus4 to A7, and you'll see how that works. The melody note, okay, so, and though you don't believe that they do come true. For did my dreams come true when I looked at you? Ba-do-da-do-ba-ba-do-ding. You too might be overjoyed, over love, over me. And again, if you want that melody, he does this thing. And though the odds say, and though the odds say M, it's an A, 3rd fret of the top string is an easy place to play this. 2nd fret of the top string, ba ba, to the open 2nd string, ba ba da, down to D on the 3rd fret of the 2nd string, ba do da boo, and then back up to the E open top string, ba 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 do da. And though the odds say improbable, now we get our D. Add 9 over F sharp, D over F sharp. If you want to add that top string there, you've added a 9 as well. And though the odds say improbable, what do they know? Now we get 2 chords per bar. For in romance, all true love needs is a chance. And for all of these, E minor 7, I've got a note on the 2nd string there, 3rd fret of the 2nd string. For the A7, that note is now on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. For the C, it's on the 1st fret of the 2nd string, and then for the B, it's the open 2nd string. So you can see that there's a chromatically falling note there. And that's in the melody. So sometimes it pays to just look at what note you're putting at the top of the chord. For in romance, all true love needs is a chance. And we've got another melodic run-up now to this, A major 7. That's actually the same as the shape I had for C major 7, but I'm moving it down far enough that that 5th string is now open. I'm going to use my 1st, 2nd, 3rd fingers for that. The melody note there, na, is a G sharp on the 1st fret of the 3rd string, and the melody starts on that B. C sharp, D sharp, E, F sharp. Ma di boo di. So if I go from for in romance, all true love needs is a chance, and maybe with a chance you will find you to E7 over G sharp, going to, I'm moving that finger down to the 3rd fret, you too like I, overjoyed, E minor 7, over love, A7, oh the you, melody note is a D, and we end on a D major 7. That's not quite the end, we're almost there. That's D major 7, it's the same as we had for C major 7, but beginning on the 5th fret of the 5th string there. We have a bar of this, you, and he keeps singing that D and then moves the shape up a fret, or the chord up a fret, to E flat major 7. And now that D becomes the major 7 of the chord. Now he moves it down 2 frets. So I'm beginning on the 4th fret of the 5th string for D flat major 7. Okay. Oh, the you. And we end on oh, you. So it's like a G over D, I guess. It's just G7 really, all this penultimate bar. G7, you. And we end on a C or a C major 7, or however you want to play that. I'll try and play the whole of the outro. Let's see how we get on. And though the odds say improbable, what do they know? For in romance, all true love needs is a chance, and maybe with a chance you will find you too like I, overjoyed, over love you. Over you. Yeah, that wasn't bad. Okay, that's everything I've got. If you managed to get this far, thank you for your patience. Thanks very much for joining, and hopefully see you on the next one. Let's have a play through, and you'll be glad to know I'm singing the melody with the saxophone. All right, cheers. 1, 2, 3.